today's dish, we have some amazing stewed chicken with some very delicious dumpling spinners. This dish is very delicious. Next, we have my potato curry chicken. This is one of my favorite dishes and you definitely will enjoy it. Last but not least, we have some baked grilled barbecue honey garlic chicken. So stay tuned if you're interested in these dishes, and don't forget guys, enjoy.
Alright, so this is a box of chicken that I got from, I believe it was No Frills, and it's 12 to 16 pieces that come in here. This was about $15. Yep, No Frills. And these are just chicken parts. So this is chicken everything. So we're going to make a whole world of different types of chicken here today. So you see there's lots of parts in there. So I'm going to pop this open. Now we're going to go ahead and clean these bad boys and cut some up, chop some up. We're going to have some like this, depends. So let's go. Alright, so when I clean my chicken, I usually clean out all of this. I don't want none of this up in my chicken. So I just go ahead and clean all of these guts out, and I do chop off some of the fats around the rim. You can remove the skin if you want to. I will remove the skin for some of these, but not all of them. And I just cut around the rim for the ones that I want to remove the skin from, and then I just remove the chicken basically. And then I cut around all these fat, and then I continue to clean out all of this. Alright, so I am going to preheat my oven now. So since I'll be using my rack to bake some of these, what I'm going to do is put a little bit of foil paper under here before I turn my oven on. And this is just for drips to prevent any kind of smoke in my oven and stuff like that. So I just add a little piece of foil paper, make sure it's nice and flat, and then we're going to go ahead and turn our oven on. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and wash my chicken, and I'm just going to squeeze a little bit of lime. You can use vinegar too if you like, if you're not a lime person, and this will just kill the raw scent that the chicken has. You can let this soak in the lemon for just like a minute or 30 seconds, and then you just go ahead and wash these. Alright, so now that my chicken are all nice and washed, I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle a little bit of salt. You want to ensure that you salt these enough. You can use seasoning salt as well, but I'm just using some pretty much regular table salt. So you're just going to rub these in all over the bone, and you might want to sprinkle a little underneath the skin to ensure that the meat underneath is nice and seasoned. Then you just want to do this for all your chicken. Alright, so next for these ones, I'm just going to add some oregano all over these. You can season these however way you like. Again, I'm just going to add these all over my chicken. And what we're going to do to these is just grill them. You can let your chicken marinate for about 10 minutes, even more, a couple hours the next day. But I'm cooking mine right away, so I'm going to let these marinate for about 10 minutes before I move on. And this sauce is my steak sauce, and I'm going to add some of this. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of this all over my chicken. This will give it that nice steaky flavor that I'm looking for, because once these are grilling, these will come out nice. So you can add a little bit of browning to this if you want to darken up the skin a little bit, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to add a little bit of my browning sauce, just a bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and rub this in. Alright, so before I actually add these in my oven, I'm just going to make little slits in. Just about 2 or 3 little slits. And this will ensure that all of this flavoring seep down into the skin while it's grilling and make these nice and juicy and just rich with flavor. So after I'm done now, I'm just going to, whatever's remained in sauce, I'm just going to drop it right in the slits there and just let those get right in there. Alright, so now I'm just sprinkling a little olive oil all over these. You can use any oil. And then I'm just going to massage these into my chicken. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and add each piece of my chicken on the rack. And you want to just ensure that you level these so it doesn't fall through the rack. And then my stove is on 400 degrees, and I'm going to let these bake for about an hour or so. And then we're going to go ahead and flip them, or you can flip them in between. It depends really on how fast your oven works. So we're going to go ahead and bake these. Alright, for the next dish now, we're going to make a little bit of brown stew peas chicken. And what I'm going to do is just cut these up. So I usually separate the legs first. And then from there, I'll cut my chicken. And then sometimes I leave it like this, depending, but then other times I cut in half. Alright, so my chicken's all cut up and nicely washed. So I'm just going to season this with a little bit of table salt. Like I said, you can use seasoning salt too. It's really strictly all up to you and what you prefer. Alright, next I'm just going to add a little bit of chopped, minced, dried garlic to this. And I'm going to add a few flakes of onion. So these are dried onions. You can get these from your local supermarket or anything. Or you could just, you're going to add the actual onion itself. Alright, next I'm going to add a little bit of browning sauce, and this is to give it that nice brown color that I'm looking for. And then I'm just going to mix these in and let these sit in this marinade for about 10-15 minutes. Alright, for our last dish now, we're going to season this with a little bit of salt again, or seasoning salt, whichever you prefer. And then I'm just going to add a bit of curry to this. You can use, I hear they say that turmeric is much more healthier than curry, so you can use turmeric too if you have that. And then we're going to massage this into our chicken, and then once again, I'm going to let this sit for about 10-15 minutes before we put it on the fire. Alright, so here I have my vegetables that I washed, and I'm using some sweet peppers. You want to cut up enough of this for both your stewed chicken dish and your curry dish. So I'm going to cut up a good amount of this, and I have my onions, some tomatoes, a piece of ginger, and my garlic, and a piece of lemon. But you're not cutting up the lemon. We're going to grate this, but we're going to use this a little bit later. So I'm going to go ahead and cut up all my seasoning, and I'll see you guys. Alright, so now I'm just going to add some oil to both my frying pans. And then you want to add some of your seasoning in one. So we're going to add some in this one. And then you can put the rest aside for now. Be sure to turn down your stove. So for our curry chicken, we're just going to go ahead and graze them a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and add them to the oil. You might need a bigger pot for this. I'm using a small pot, but that's okay. I know how to work with it. So I have my little cup of water here, so I can just wash off my spoon when I'm switching between pots. So I'm just going to go ahead and just flip these and just let them graze, as you can see, and then you can just turn them over when you're done. So I'm just washing my fork here. So I'm just going to add a little bit of water and just let my seasoning fry for a bit. Alright, so I'm just going to add a little bit more oil, and then what I'm going to go ahead and do is add my chicken to this. So I'm going to add my stewed chicken. And then I'm just going to let these brown for a bit with my stove on about 7. Because I want these to brown up with a little bit of color. You could fry these if you want to go that way, but I'm not going to fry mine. I'm just going to brown mine right in my pot here with my seasoning. Alright, for my curry chicken now, I'm going to go ahead and add my seasoning onto here. Alright, and then after I've added my seasoning, I'm just going to mix it around. You can add a little bit of Scotch bonnet pepper in here if you want a little bit of heat. It's really all up to you. Alright, so here I have a cup of water, and I'm just going to add a little bit of curry powder to this. Not much, because now I'm making my gravy for my curry chicken. You can add it to the pot or do it whichever way you usually do it, or whichever way you like to do it. And I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of salt, or seasoning salt, whichever one you prefer. I'm just going to add this to it and mix that around. We're going to go add this to our pot. Alright, so now I'm just going to add this all over my chicken here. And don't worry, this will cook down once your curry chicken starts cooking down. You can add a little bit at a time, or you can add a lot. My pot's a little full right now, so that's okay. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit more oil to this. And then I'm just going to carefully mix this together now and turn these a little bit. And then I'm going to turn my stove down on medium-low heat, and I'm going to cover this and let it simmer and cook down. Alright, so my stewed chicken's looking really nice. They're starting to all brown up very nicely, as you can see. So I'm just going to give these a few more minutes to just continue doing their thing in the pot while I prepare our rice. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and check and see how our chicken's doing. And looking really good right now. So I did come back recently and turn them. So the skin might come off a little bit. That is completely okay. So I'm just going to turn this side. As you can see, it's grazing up very nicely. So these are looking very good. I'm definitely liking that. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip these onto its other side so that it can bake. And as you can see how nice and juicy that looks. That just looks amazing. So we're just going to give this another half an hour, and then we're going to add our sauces and put them right back to bake. Alright, so here I have a little cup of water, and I'm just going to add some browning sauce. You don't need a lot. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of salt to this. You can add seasoning salt as well, just to give it a little bit of flavor. And then I'm just going to stir this around, and we're going to add this to our stewed chicken. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and add my sauce right onto my chicken, and that just looks really good. And then I'm just going to stir these, and then you just want to leave these and let these stew down. But we're going to just add one more thing before we do that, just that. Alright, so here I have a can of red kidney beans, and I'm just going to scoop out some of this and add these to my pot. You can add as much as you want or as little as you want. You can add the water. You don't have to, but I'm not going to add the water, so I'm just going to add a good amount of this. You can put the rest of this in some rice if you want. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and mix this in now, and then I'm going to cover this and let this simmer down nicely. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. Alright, so we're just checking on our curry chicken now. Smells good and it's looking good. So here I have a few little potato cubes that I cut up, and I'm just going to add these to my pot, and this will just give it a nice, just something extra, and it'll just make it taste even better. You can add a little bit more water if you want more gravy. I'm going to add a little bit more water, and then once I'm done that, I'm just going to cover this and let it cook down, and then we're pretty much all done. Alright, so here I have some all-purpose flour and some water, and we're going to make some spinners, some dumpling spinners. So you just want to combine everything together. So I added my water, and I'm just mixing everything right now to combine it. If you find that it's a little too wet, like mine right now, just go ahead and add a little bit more flour, and this will just soak up all that water. And what I'm just going to do now is you just want to knead it. So with the palm of your hands, you just want to go ahead and knead that in. Or you can use the tip of your fingers too, but if you're a beginner and you're just doing this for the first time, I recommend you use the palm of your hands. And like I said, if it's still a little too sticky, just keep adding flour, and the flour will just soak that all in. Just gradually add your flour dough. So after I'm done kneading it now, I'm going to go ahead and you just pinch off little sections like this, and you can roll them in any shape you want. But we're just going to make some spinners, so I'm just going to pinch off something a little bit smaller, and then just roll them in between your fingers like this. And the more you roll them, the longer they get. And we're going to make a few of these first. Alright, so while my stewed chicken's here cooking down, my gravy has started to thicken up, so we're just going to go ahead and add our spinners right into there. You can add as many or as little as you want. It really all depends on how much of these you like. They're really tasty, and they definitely are a little added bonus to your pot. So I'm just going to go ahead and mix those in just to ensure that they get into the gravy. And I'm just going to add a little bit more water and just let this cook down, cover it, and let these cook down nicely. Alright, so my chicken have finished grilling, and I must say they look very good. And they look really nice on each side. Now we're going to go ahead and add our sauce. Alright, so I've lightly coated each piece of my chicken with some honey garlic sauce. So lastly now, I'm going to be adding my barbecue sauce to this, and you can coat this as thick or as lightly as you want it. It really all depends on you and what you like. And I'm just going to rub these in and just get these all over each pieces of my chicken. And then we're going to pop these bad boys back each into the oven for another 10 to 15 minutes. You can cover these if you like with another piece of foil paper, and that will just create a little bit of steam in there and just make these a little more on the softer, juicier side. Unless you want to eat them a little bit crispy and a little bit more dry, then you just leave them open like these, and then these will just bake as they are. And then that is pretty much it. So we're going to go ahead and pop these right back in our oven now. And then your dishes are pretty much ready to serve with rice or noodles or whatever you want to serve them with.
Alright friends, so that is the end of our dishes. Don't be afraid to try these dishes out. They're not hard to make at all, and they're very delicious and very family oriented. So enjoy, and I'll see you for the next dish. Thanks for watching.